Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Latin Explaining. My name is Denise. For those who do not know me, for those who do, welcome back, guys. Thank you for tuning in for another show. Thank you for allowing me into your homes and your devices. Today is the start of new things. I want to take some time to actually announce that I'm going to be changing the schedule for Latin Explaining. I think I mentioned it before. We're going to start going live on different days. I still haven't decided specifically which days. I'm considering between Wednesdays and Fridays or Wednesdays and Sundays. So stay tuned for later during this week where I will announce the official new schedule. I know I'm usually not live on Sundays. I know it's Halloween. Happy Halloween, everybody. I hope that you're all having a good time, eating a lot of candy, and more than anything, just creating new memories. But like I said, I want to welcome everybody that's here. And for the people that are just coming in, I want to remind everybody to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so. And also, if you don't want to miss every time I go live, make sure that you press and hit that bell for notifications and press all. So every time that I go live, you can actually tune in and not miss anything. So without any further ado, I know today I'm going to be going into like a different direction. There's a lot of things to discuss in the main topic. So I'm going to share very briefly a few things that has been happening on this Latin corner of the world. So without any further ado, let's get today's show started.
To the next level.
Well. In news today, we have so many things. It's not even funny. I don't know how many of you guys follow me on Instagram. The last time I shared things with you here on Latin Splaining, I thought what was the wildest news that I could possibly bring. However, I was mistaken. There was something that was brewing in the background, and trust me, it will all make sense when I go into the main topic. So stay tuned for that. But I don't know if you guys saw what I posted 4 days ago, but the UN has said very publicly that 2% of Elon Musk's fortune could solve the world's hunger. The mogul has just made $36 billion in a day, and now it's open to both criticism and praise from the public. My thoughts are, when are we going to realize that only American made billionaires are the ones that get heavy criticism, whereas Saudi Arabian princes can amount to unprecedented amount of wealth with no questions or complaints? And I meant what I said. Like, a lot of people usually, when I talk about this, run away from this topic or get offended or whatnot. But why is it, like I said, a lot of people in America specifically hates the concept of wealth. Like, every time, nobody likes to see like a rich person, in my opinion. So every time, especially someone in America, because of course we have like free media and whatnot, and we're watched by the whole world, being the number one country in the world. Even though I have my opinion on that, but I'm not gonna go off topic. But to be honest with you, um, people need to start understanding something. Like, we're not entitled to other people's money, regardless of how much they made and how much we make. We're not entitled to no one's money. Like, imagine if somebody from, I don't know, Syria thinks that you're wealthy and ask you to donate 2% of or 10% of your salary. Would you do so? Because you have more money than them. You see, like, that's not something that's doable. But in all honesty, I understand why people are salty. I understand why people don't like to see rich people, especially American rich people. But in reality, like, we need to stop this behavior, simply because you have to understand that if you enjoy America the way it is today, in my opinion, you have to understand that you need people with large amounts of money to actually have a dog in the fight when it comes to, world trades and commerce and whatnot. You need people to have the funds to actually innovate and keep moving forward. Otherwise, this country will become obsolete. So, of course, like I said, a lot of people tend to get upset, and now we're basically feeling entitled. The UN is feeling entitled to 2% of Elon Musk's fortune, which is something I never thought I would see in modern era. It's kind of ridiculous to a degree. So, to be honest with you, I do not know what's going on with that. You can leave your comment and your opinion about it on the chat, but to be honest with you, it is absolutely ridiculous Ridiculous. Hi, Afro. I see that. Like he said, get the likes up, people. But now, moving into a different kinds of news, I know this week has been a little hectic. But speaking of very rich and wealthy people, and speaking about big changes and big profits and whatnot, we also have Mark Zuckerberg changing the name of what it's known Facebook today to Meta. Now, a lot of people got upset. A lot of people loved it. The concept is still. I don't know if you guys have read about this whole thing, but it's gonna bring features that even are going to change in a interactive way. It's going to change even the location you're at, or like the aspect of it. It comes with like different features, kind of like what Radical Latino is trying to explain in the comment section. But in all honesty, I'm curious to see what Meta is going to do. The only thing that I find funny is that what's going to happen now with the baby boomers and social media. And I know I have a baby boomer that I appreciate a lot, my cyber father, Jose Negro is a baby boomer, but you don't count, Jose, because you know how to use technology. Now, we're talking about the gross majority of baby boomers. We know that Facebook is not for young people. Like if you are under 30 years old, trust me, you don't even have a Facebook. Or if you do, you rarely go in there. Now, if you're from 30 to 35, you might still want to stay in contact with your tias and your tios and abuelos there, and all of your old primos are in there and whatnot. So you want to go, oh, look, how cute your dog, how cute your little kids and whatnot, blah, blah, blah. But we don't really go to Facebook when we first get into our phones every day, okay? Let's just keep it real. So now that this is going to change, can you guys imagine? Can you guys imagine baby boomers trying to use Meta, trying to change their backgrounds and stuff? Can you guys imagine? They're going to have a meltdown. So let's start buying the Kleenex. And if you have if you have a payphone or whatnot, you don't have an unlimited data and whatnot, it's time to get that, because trust me, tias and tios are gonna start calling you at all times to help them understand Meta. And the same with abuelas, los papás, las mamás, whatever. They're going to start calling a lot to understand Meta. Or Meta can actually have a tutorial, which I don't think they will even know how to access. So my question with this news, and the reason why it's hilarious, but at the same time it's kind of, it worries me, is because I mean, we have to keep innovating. I've said that in the previous news. But one thing is that what's going to happen, what will be the psychological repercussions on this specific move for our older population? And one thing I would say is that we have to prep ourselves for that. um if you think about it, since 2005, when we had the inception of MySpace, and even before that, even in the early 2000s or late 90s, I would say, when we had full-blown access to the internet after the Telecommunications Act, chats and email became like a form of communication with the world. That was the first time that we had access, other than by phone, to everybody, even strangers on the internet. So it has evolved so much to the point that you can have Bangladeshi friends. I know I have some. You can have friends from Venezuela, and you're in one location. And you have friends from all around the world. You're interacting with a lot of people, exchanging crazy amounts of information. And our baby boomer population and some of our Gen X population has gotten used to that. Now that they finally got a grip to this, and now our abuelas and our tias are experts in Facebook, and they have a master's degree in Facebook. Now we're going to move up the pole so that they can get lost again for the next 17 years. So my thing is, emotionally, as much as this is hilarious, my point is, how is this going to affect their emotional side? Because we know, due to psychologists, psychiatrists, and even scientists studying this, likes generate amounts of dopamine in your brain. So of course you get that gratification every day from your online interactions, which is what keeps us glued to our social media. Now, because you feel accepted, you feel liked, you feel good about yourself, you feel confident and whatnot. So of course it's tied to their psyche, especially when you're older. So one thing I would say with our abuelas and our tias and our mamas and papas getting that everyday dose of dopamine only from their phone, are they going to become more active outside? Are they going to become uh, a little bit depressed? What's going to happen to their mental state? That's something that I would love for someone that's an expert on, this type of analysis to actually do this analysis before it happens and actually let us know, because we know that very little is known about the impacts of social media on our day-to-day life. Nobody took the time to actually analyze that until now, and it's almost too late. So let's just start catching on that wave and actually see what's going on with Meta. But other than that, I am excited to see what's new. I have had to have that myself. There's a lot of things on technology wise that keep coming out, and we need to start keeping up. It's something that it never stops changing. So if you're not keeping up with that, good luck to you. Good luck to you. Now, guys, like I said, I want to keep this shorter than usual. So that has been all the news that I have for you guys today. And like I said, it's going to tie on to the main topic. So let's just move to something that's really hilarious and I want to share with you guys. And it's on Latin explaining music. What a fiasco. What a fiasco. I know a lot of you guys have followed me, and you guys know that I love the género urbano Latino. And to be honest with you, there's a lot of very talented interpreters, performers, artists, compositors, and whatever. But there's also very bad ones. Let's just not forget that with the inception of autotune and other different softwares to manipulate waves, a lot of people that really sing horribly, thanks to their sound engineers, sound better. So, of course, after making your sound engineers sweat a lot to make you sound decent, of course, you cannot put a sound engineer on your mouth and make it sing for you with all those effects and manipulations. So one of these beloved interpreters, Jay Cortez, had his concert finally in the Choliseo, which is the Puerto Rican Coliseum, where most of these artists go to test if they really pass the test from the public, aside from Viña del Mar. He basically booked his concert. He had 3 different concerts, consecutive ones. And on the first one was such a fiasco. It brought me back to Kelly Clarkson's Since You've Been Gone MTV performance type of stuff. But I want you guys to be the judge. Do you think Jay Wheeler has talent? I mean, Jay Cortez. I'm sorry, Jay Wheeler. But do you think Jay Cortez should never do a concert again? Do you think the public was engaging with him? Do you think they were enjoying? I'm gonna show a few clips from Molusco's page. So guys, you guys let me know if you think that he has what it takes.
Baby, qué simple cuando nos podemos. ¿Qué? Háblame de ti, de la que hay, cómo se siente, y tu foto cuando me ves. Dice, eres igual que yo, amor, has tenido. Hey, pero no impide. Pero que se escuche, dice. A tu nombre siempre me mato. Dice que la curiosidad mató.
Now there's another one that I want you guys to listen to.
Esta mujer a mí me quiere comer todo si me dice con. Y si me dice con. Él quiere matarme a mí, no esa cochina de mi funeral. Yo sé que Dios me va a perdonar esa puta Sofía. Tú sabes que son. Ey, sí, otra vez en mí a mí. Como si fuera.
So now, oh my God, Jose says, ew, horrible. Absolutely. I agree 100%. Like, I've yet to find several comments praising Jay Cortez. I think this was a mistake. I don't think he should have done this. His voice is not for like live events. And I feel very bad. Like, if you paid for this show, I feel really bad for you. Oh my God. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to bring something very brief. Also, I'm not going to do sports today because I'm going to wait until Mr. Rosario with the Atlanta Braves wins today. But after that, I will report a little bit on it. But for today, I'm just going to stay out of it. So, guys, let's just move right into the main topic. Now, guys, the main topic today, the true cost of your stimulus checks. I know a lot of people receive their stimulus checks, spend it on their new TVs and pools and whatnot. I get to meet a person that has invested their stimulus check in something that was helpful or any of that matter. I met people that said that they did not spend their checks, but that's very like a very low amount of people. Now, there's not such thing as a free lunch. The same thing applies for your stimulus check. A lot of people did not understood what this money was for, and to be honest with you, I don't want to scare you, but this was the biggest transfer of wealth that has happened in the world. We're not talking just about the country, we're talking about the world. How? First, we're funding things that are non-related to C19. Second of all, I'm sorry if you guys are hearing the fireworks and whatnot. It's Halloween, so cut me a break. Anyway, um, so going back to the whole subject, like if you guys think about it, it's called stimulus, but it's not to stimulate you or me. Like nobody was. If you guys were stimulated by this, put a number one in the chat. Like I was not thinking that people were getting that stimulus was for the economy. So of course, what that means is that first of all, you're not going to benefit from it. It's to keep the economy going, and a lot of people did not understood the purpose of this. Otherwise, they would have protested the stimulus checks. Now, one thing I will say is that, in all honesty, how many of you guys have noticed that everything has gotten so damn expensive? Because a lot of people don't realize that that goes directly into your stimulus checks. How many things have gone up due to the C19? How many things have gotten more expensive? You go to your grocery store and now cheese is 69 cents more expensive. You go and buy juice that you used to buy for $4, now it's $7, and so on. Well, I see that Jose says there were people who wanted monthly stimulus checks. It will never happen. Well, believe it or not, it is happening in California. In California, there is Mayor Garcetti in Los Angeles started a social study at the expense of us. And the money that he took from the defund the police type of movement he took $11 million, and instead of putting into fixing the potholes that are in the city of Los Angeles and is ruining all of our ramps, he decided to give single parents and families $1,000, no questions asked, per month for a whole year. So if you don't have kids and you basically supported this whole movement of getting the funds from the police so that they could go into education, so that kids could be more educated and not live in educational poverty, well, you're screwed. It's going back into the baby mamas and the ghetto princesses and whatnot, and all the sholas and whatnot. So it's not going to go into your pocket. It's not going to go into at least your kids' education. It's going into that. So it's happening, Jose. But basically, I want to go back into the topic. And one thing I will say is that this is not a foreign concept, the amount of debt that we're on. And researching for this topic, I went into back in history of this country when in 1835 this country was in debt for $25 million. Of course, right now that's nothing because of inflation, but back then it's basically what this country is facing now. And it was until President Jackson used the bubble, that was the real estate bubble that was happening in the west of the US, and started selling a lot of federal assets. Um, a lot of federal assets to people and making money out of that to pay directly the debt. And then he vetoed it. He put a veto in everything that was like new bills, making the government pay more money and whatnot. So it only lasted for a year though, but the country went for 6 years. They ate up the whole austerity measures type of stuff. Um, so for 6 years they were in austerity, but they paid the national debt. That was the last time that America was out of debt. And one thing that people don't understand, why debt is so important and is related to my stimulus check, is easy. America doesn't have fluid money to fund their emergencies. You have to picture it like yourself. For example, I'm gonna explain to you. You are basically the US, and you have an unlimited credit card that you can swipe everywhere. Of course, you're responsible for the payments, but that debit card, that credit card, I'm sorry, is basically every time that the United States requests money from the Federal Reserve. So you keep swiping the credit card that has unlimited amounts of money, but that means that the Federal Reserve has to print more bills. And when that happens, if we know something about market that we have discussed here multiple times, is that the market concept in this capitalist and consumerism culture is based solely on supply and demand. And when you play with those variables, that's where you get the sweet spot or a very salty spot, depending on what you're selling, trading, or buying, depending on the customer's amount. So when you have a lot of dollar bills printed, okay, and we're talking about $15 trillion were printed last year. So when you printed that amount of money, every dollar that you have in your pocket decreases its value. So you have $100, but how many things you can purchase today with your $100 versus what you can purchase with that same bill 3 years ago? It's not the same because there's so many dollar bills that is so common. So many people have so many money in their pockets, and that's another topic because not a lot of people have money in their pockets, only a few. But so many dollars are out there that the value of the dollar decreased. So every time that the government has to put more money into the market, look at what Jose is saying. He said the last batch of stimulus check checks cost $400 billion. Absolutely, it was a lot of money. And let's not forget that the CARES Act and the HEROES Act and all the acts, they named them so beautifully. They never said, "I'll screw you act," "you're in forever in debt act." That's how they should have been called. But no, they were like CARES Act and HEROES Act. A lot of expenses that were not even related to the communities, the roads, the education, and even our economy were in there. A lot of them were for other countries and other purposes, that were not even related to what we needed. So, of course, when you got your stimulus check, you already have that problem that's going to come right after, because now your dollars are worth less. But as if that wasn't enough, the majority of people were dumb enough to take those dollars that they received and put it into Target, Amazon, Lululemon, Chipotle, and whatnot. And those companies benefited directly from your stimulus check, because it's like a funnel. You're funneling all of this huge amount of government money, taxpayer money, into corporate America. So you're funding corporate America while it's coming out of your own pocket. Because if we keep, like I said in the analogy that I said before, if the government, which is you, keep swiping that credit card, it has to borrow more money. And because you're not making more money, you don't have another job, which would be another option. But because right now America doesn't have any other job that's super profitable, that's bringing any income, what's the income of the government right now? They're going to increase taxes on you. And that's when we come to what I touched on the news today, which is why now we have this obsession with the quote unquote, and we're desperate for the quote unquote tax the rich. It's simply because we know that that's the only way that the people in the government knows to generate money to pay the national debt. And don't think for a second that doesn't affect you and me. It does affect you and me in a tandem effect, like a double whammy, if you might say, because you have now that employers, even though they're begging for workers, of course they're offering you money from all the profits they made last year. But in reality, they're not going to pay you as much as you will need, because if in the past inflation, what we needed as a livable wage was $24 an hour, and we're not getting that now with the new inflation, even if they give us the $15 minimum wage, or even the $24 an hour minimum wage on whatever job, you're still going to need to come up with a little bit more, because inflation just went up due to the fact that we printed a lot of money. So, of course, they're still going to screw you. And on top of that, you have the government taxing new things. Like, for example, in the state of California, we just had, in the middle of the pandemic, we had a new tax on gasoline. And as if that wasn't enough, we're implementing more and more taxes, because not only we have this whole debt in this state, we have the national debt to pay, we have the cost of inflation due to the Federal Reserve printing more money, things getting more expensive because people keep buying property when there's almost no supply. And as if that wasn't enough, a lot of people are leaving the state of California. The same thing is happening in New York, and it's happening in many other states. But to be honest with you, that is basically why I wanted to bring in this topic. Like I said, there's a lot of things to dissect when it comes to your stimulus checks. But this is the problem that we're facing today. Regardless of if you receive or not receive your stimulus check, I'm pretty sure that now that people are understanding what that meant at the time, they're understanding it now. But if they would understand it when they had it, they would have protested that. They would have. But in reality, you just wanted the free money. So let's just go for it. Approve everything, and let's not think about the cost. And that's without saying that you're not taking into consideration how many millions of people wanted a printed check. So printing and mailing costs add up to that too. Those are millions of dollars. Millions of dollars. So One thing I wanted to say is that right now I think we're going to be facing a lot of taxation due to your stimulus checks, and everything is going to get more expensive around you, and that goes to the cost of your living, interest rates, everything, and we're going to start seeing people getting into debt. And one thing I would say is that I wanted to focus also on, the people that did got benefited from the stimulus checks. Like I mentioned before, the real estate market got a lot of benefits out of the stimulus checks, because a lot of people were using some of that money alongside other types of money, like what they got from the PUA and whatnot, and they were like, hey, this is our down payment, let's get into property. Let's not forget that we have the foreclosures protection from the president. So a lot of people that couldn't pay for their house because they didn't have a job, they were in lockdown and whatnot, a lot of these people were not selling their houses. They were not selling their houses, so there was not a lot of properties on the market. There were a very low catalog of properties in the market at the time. So when again supply is short, it makes it more exclusive, therefore more expensive. So there's more commission for real estate brokers, especially during this whole lockdowns and the pandemic and whatnot. So of course they benefited directly from that, because people had on cash money to pay them, and on top of that paid the big bucks just to get a property without thinking about this. Also, it benefited the stock buyers, because if you invested already money in Amazon, Target, Walmart, whatnot, with all this influx of money and people buying a lot of stuff from them being able to promote themselves more so that you can buy more stuff from them, inflated their stock prices. So, of course, if you were in the market and you had some of the Walmart stock or like Target, Amazon, Whole Foods, and whatnot, you made a lot of money in 2020 and 2021, to the point that there's still people that are not leaving their houses to go on grocery shopping nowadays. A lot of people like myself, we're still using the internet for health reasons and whatnot. And last but not least, I want to say that it benefited also the CEOs of these big companies. First, because there was a lot of regulations on small and medium businesses. So, of course, you had no other choice but to not go the complicated way on finding one. And you will go to these big corporations. And that meant that they had a high influx amount of money that was coming in. And with what they were doing with that was reinvesting either in marketing, in bettering their business, expanding other areas or other ventures that they wanted to do. Also, they made a lot of personal profit per term. A lot of bonuses were paid to the people that were in high places. So, therefore, we strengthened these corporations now to the point that they're these big monsters that are filthy rich. And also, Jeff Bezos was able to go to space. So, those people benefited from the stimulus check. You and me did not. I see that Jon Snow says the infrastructure of distributing the stimulus is already there. The cost of the logistics is negligible. Look, the infrastructure is already there, but the thing is that you have to understand that printing a check, envelopes, the worker that delivers that all of that is extra work. And let's say if you have to make changes to your address, if you have to make changes to certain things, those are people that, even though you did it in the computer doesn't go and tell a robot to print your check. There's extra overtime hours that you have to put in the employees for the IRS to distribute this. So even though, yeah, the infrastructure is still there, it's only used once a year per person that pays taxes. In this case, you were printing one check extra, or at this point, three checks extra on the same fiscal year, simply because we had to quote unquote stimulate the economy. So those costs are unprecedented costs that the US government could not cover. Therefore, they needed to swipe the credit card once again to fund everything, simply because they love to spend more money. They're not going to stop spending money unless we have a president that believes in austerity, which also brings me back to this question. Could the stimulus checks and the love of our government to spend money cause a change, an unprecedented change in America? To be honest with you, the last time that America tried to pay its national debt, it took them 6 years to do so. And like I specified at the beginning of the discussion, we have to remember that they had to sell land. Now, that was land that was under the federal government. What land today is being possessed by? And I'm not going to answer this question. I just want you to think about it, because it's time to do some homework here, Latin explainers. It's time to do some homework. What land the United States possesses today that they could possibly sell to pay for some of the national debt? And with that, you guys know that I love to bring people. I'm not going to bring people on today simply because I want to keep it short and sweet. And but if you want to get into the behind the scenes, the after show, you can also do that. So guys, like I said, a lot of people did not understood the cost of their stimulus checks. A lot of people misinterpreted what they were for, went crazy, couldn't stop buying out of anxiety and whatnot. But to be honest with you, this is the problem that we have in this nation right now. I have anticipated that in at least 6 to 8 years, we're going to start seeing a major decay in the economy. And to be honest with you, I don't think a lot of people are ready. I think a lot should be ready. That's why I started this channel. I know that a lot of people are probably trick or treating and whatnot. It's still Halloween, so happy Halloween, everybody. But if you catch me on the replay, I want you to start this week thinking this way, regardless of all the comedy and all the stuff that we talk about here. But one thing I want you to think personally, as an individual: what can I possibly do? Because everything is going up in price. The value of the dollar is underwater right now. We have not recovered since the first time that happened in the early 2000s. And the government keeps swiping the unlimited credit card to pay for different things that never seem to benefit me. So, like I said, we've seen a lot of strikes. Even McDonald's workers are having a strike. Um, so guys, I want you to think of what's going to be your plan now that you already spent your stimulus check on things that weren't important. What's your plan for the next 6 to 8 years financially? Hi, Christina. What's going to be your plan? What are you going to do? Uh, what's your caution in case the United States declare a depression in the next 6 to 8 years? What are you going to do? Is life going to continue? Because remember, the first thing that's going to go down, in my opinion, I think 2023 real estate is going to start going down in crazy numbers. But that's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, Jon Snow says I still have my stimulus money under my mattress. Oh my god, that's hilarious. I mean, but that was way smarter than the majority of the people. So keep it there just in case. to be honest with you, once the real estate market crashes, um, after that, everything else will follow. Okay, everything else will follow, especially since corporations now, by the people, are being demanded to be paying more and whatnot. Employers, if we tax the rich, which is the path that we're going now under this current administration, now a lot of businesses are going to start closing, and when businesses close, you guys know the unemployment rate goes up. The government swipes the card for welfare expansion one more time. It taxes and overtaxes the working class or the middle class, and when it overtaxes that, it forces the middle class to demand more money, and then the cycle continues until it rips off, unless we insert a new stream of income. And that's American economy for you. And like I said, we have reached a point of a lot of excess in our spending. Nobody is ringing the alarm, even though the writing is on the wall. Nobody's stopping the government from all this overspending and the shopaholic tendencies. Nobody's exercising any money discipline on the working class. So what's going to happen is that we're going to go on this train at full speed, knowing there's no tracks in the future until we get derailed. So I will hate for my Latin splainers to be part of that problem, which is why I always share with you things that we can do to make a little bit more profit on the side or whatnot. So I want you guys to really, really, really take this information in this week and start thinking of things that you can bring into your life. Enhance utility said buy stocks or crypto and commodities. There's a lot of things that you can do. And also buying stocks, I won't recommend unless it's like a short sale, because once everything crashes, the stock market crashes as well. If it's not in crypto, like he said, crypto, I advise because it's a different type of currency. But to be honest with you, stock per se, now I don't think it's a good time, unless it's like a short sale. Like you're gonna just buy something and it's gonna make a profit in like a fast time frame. uh Also commodities, if it's not real estate, the only way, like I said, one thing, and I'm gonna put this idea out there because it's something I'm even doing myself. uh Absolutely. Enhanced utility says when the dollar goes down, oil and metal goes up. Absolutely, because it's not necessarily that it goes up, it's the fact that the dollar lost its value. So everything to obtain that in the world's market that doesn't run on the American dollar, it's more expensive because your dollar is not worth anything. Um, he said it's called asset inflation. Absolutely. So let's not forget, American dollar is not even number one, is the euro, the England's euro. So of course, even when you look at other currencies, it's like, for example, me going to the DR with American dollars to, for example, if I'm going to sell American prices to Dominicans, uh, and I'm gonna sell in dollars because I want to make a profit, what will cost me a dollar will cost a Dominican 48 Dominican pesos. And that's an approximate, or 52 Dominican pesos, you know? So of course to them that's a lot of money, but to us in the outside market is not. It's just a dollar. So basically that's to give you like an example, like if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, that's basically what I am saying. So to be honest with you, this whole situation going on with the inflation, uh it's getting to a point where, like I said, I need you to think of a plan of something that you want to do. I would recommend people, now that the employers are thirsty for employees, get that second job, get that side hustle and whatnot. Put that money to the side. When everything crashes, buy everything that you can with the money you put in the side. That way, when everything that it's coming down, it's gonna go up again. You can make more money when that same violently way everything starts going up, and that's how you will probably build up a retirement plan for yourself. So I'm gonna let Jose and Ramon in for a few minutes before I close down. Welcome, welcome, the Boricua Corner.
Good
Hey,
evening, everybody.
Hi,
hey,
hi. ¿Cómo estás, Ramón?
todo bien, ¿me oyes bien?
Sí, sí, te escucho bien.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I know that I've had audio issues in the past, so I'm not using my usual setup. Hey, Don José, ¿cómo está?
Muy bien, muy bien. Yo estoy aquí en la ciudad de Albany.
Yeah, I saw something about that you were putting up a video, then you were visiting Albany, you're like on a short vacation or something?
It's a weekend getaway. I haven't been able to take advantage of traveling due to the pandemic, so it's like, let me just do something short and try to load some images on my channel.
Okay. Yeah, and thanks, Dennis, for letting me up. I missed your last live stream because I really was kind of like having to deal with something else, and I didn't caught your last live stream, but
Oh,
yeah,
it was hilarious. It was hilarious.
yeah, I know I missed out on that one. I'll try. I'll do better next time.
No, don't
So
worry, don't worry. So, what do you think about this whole true cost of stimulus check that everybody seems to be ignoring, even though it's the elephant in the room?
Well, I don't know how many stimulus checks apparently are people expecting. I mean, that was kind of like a one-time thing, and they were kind of. I understand that they were negotiating for another one, but nothing happened. Uh,
Yeah, but but
Um,
but for the one that happened, like the three ones that we got,
yes,
as the people, like now that we're seeing this crazy prices on everything, and this whole commerce hostility going on, and the value of the dollar decreasing, what do you think could be a solution for regular people, my Latin explainers that watch me every day, and you guys included? What could be the possible solution for us as individuals to actually brace for impact?
yes. Well, I mean, it's kind of like having a bit of an exit strategy, kind of like something that maybe Mexicans and Central America, some of them have been already doing when they come to the United States. They work as much as they can. They get together as much money as possible, and they invest it, but back in the countries that they came from, so they can have something to come back to, having owning land and property, something to go back to. And also over here in the Caribbean, we shouldn't be doing something too dissimilar from that. Like trying to invest in something offshore, which is something like that I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do that myself, trying to have a little something in Puerto Rico, trying to have a little something with the help of my friends in the Dominican Republic. I'm not going into details, but it's
Absolutely.
important to me. It's important to me because I'm getting a little older. It's
We're
important to
all
me.
getting there.
Yeah, it's important to me to kind of like have kind of like an exit strategy. If things were to really go kaput here in the United States, which is not something that I'm wishing for,
Me
but
neither, trust me.
no, that's not something that I'm wishing for. But we have to be honest. You mentioned about the value of the dollar, that it keeps going down.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, that really was ramped up. The loss of the value of the dollar really ramped up. I understand that it was back in the 70s when Richard Nixon kind of like took the country off of the gold standard, and then it became this fiat thing, fractionary fiat thing, where like you will have to print more money and more money to cover for things, and the only thing that is giving value to it will be the military, because the military can force other countries to use the dollar to buy necessities, kind of like the oil. That's kind of, I understand that that's kind of like what happened with Saddam Hussein himself,
Yeah.
because he
Yeah.
didn't want to use the dollar to purchase to purchase things, the petrodollar, I understand.
Yeah.
And he wanted to use a different currency, and that might be one of the biggest reasons, if not the main reason, why he got taken out.
Yeah.
And and
Yeah,
kind of like,
they use his acts against him to paint him in like this light. Not that he wasn't evil, but
yeah,
they use his exploited his mistakes to actually take him out for not wanting to assimilate into our
yeah.
currency.
No,
So
but nobody's saying that he wasn't a dictator. Nobody's saying that.
no, no,
But
no, no, I know.
Iraqis themselves have said that at least when he was ruling, at least there was good security. When the United States invaded, it all went to shit. I mean, and hundreds of thousands of people have been killed, and nothing was solved. And later the whole 9/11 commission report came out, basically saying that Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. So why exactly did we invade Iraq for? And
Yeah,
so it may have been more about the petrodollar than anything else. It kind of like,
absolutely.
or kind of like what happened with Gaddafi in Libya. What did Gaddafi was trying to do? He was trying to unite the African countries with the resources, come up with their own currency that was backed by the valuable resources that are in the African continent. And what happened to him?
He got whacked.
He got what? It was some gangster shit. Some gangster shit. He got whacked. He got
He
whacked.
got whacked.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we know that the CIA has something to do with it because they funded the
Absolutely.
opposition. It's always about funding the opposition of somebody else in the country that disagrees with something in the United States to have them taken out. I mean,
Yeah, yeah. He
more
got whacked
details.
really bad.
Yeah. The CIA has been doing but running roughshod and fucking up all other countries. They have been doing that since the 1950s with Iran. If you look it up, I mean,
Yeah, that's survival to them, to
yeah,
be honest with you. And like I said, right now, you know what, I'm prepping other topic for this channel regarding Puerto Rico, because one thing that I already touched on the subject, like if Puerto Rico will become a state, I don't think it will ever happen.
no,
um
No.
One thing I would say is that this makes me cringe to crazy levels, because the United States has run out of federal land to sell right now. So what's the next thing that they possess?
the outliers, the territories that are offshore. Puerto Rico
Absolutely.
being one of them.
Exactly.
American Samoa.
Guam.
Guam, for example, those
Virgin
places.
Islands.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, the are the lands that remain that are outside of the mainland, and they may be able to sell them away. I mean, I don't think they're gonna be selling Puerto Rico to China anytime soon. But
We'll see. We will see.
Excuse me.
Yeah, go ahead, Jose.
But if you take a look, I compare the United States to the Roman Empire, and the reason why I do that, if you take a look at our economic situation and then you compare to the situation with the Roman Empire, they're very similar. Um, Heading into the third century, they were devaluing their currency and spending more and more money on the military. And we also had the crisis of the third century, when you had, in a 50-year period, 26 people that became emperors. And one of the reasons why Rome fell is the super high inflation, because when you're unable to generate income, it makes things difficult to maintain an army. And this country is going down the same path that the Roman Empire did.
And like exactly like the Roman Empire, because the United States does operate very much like an empire. You can look at the foreign policy of the United States. It operates very much like an empire, and as an empire, it's gonna fall too because it's really spreading itself too thin around the world with all of the military bases. There are hundreds of them, between 600 and 800 military bases around the world, because wherever the United States show up, they set up a base, and the United States never leaves. And that's very costly. That's very expensive. Maintaining personnel, maintaining all the equipment, maintaining whatever it is, the deal that that the United States has to strike with with whatever government, including Cuba, to have control of parts of the land so they can have the military base there. It can be rather expensive, and they have been doing that for decades. And that's part of the reason why this debt is accumulating. It's what, $22 trillion now, and that's only going to be passed down to the next generation. It's accumulating the debt and leaving the next generations to have to deal with it. I mean, they're bankrupt in the country now, and it's going to be the following generations to have to deal with it. I mean, it's unfortunate, but that's the reality that we're dealing with. That they never talk in the congressional sessions. They never talk about eliminating the debt or reducing the debt, paying off the debt. They never talk about that. They're always talking about raising the debt limit. That's where they're referring to their proverbial credit card that Denise was talking about.
The golden card, the magic card that they
No,
love
the
to
black
swipe.
card, either the platinum card or the black card. They can raise the limit of it because it is a provision that is in the Constitution. The country cannot go broke. That means that when it comes to the debt limit, they can raise it as much as they want, as much as they can, as much as they want, because the Constitution has a provision that says that the country cannot default, cannot go broke. So they have to keep raising up the debt limit so they can accumulate much of it, much more of it. But they never talk about stopping that practice and actually reducing the debt. And it could be done. The thing is that it could be done with better management. It could be done because you can cut the military spending by like half and still have the biggest military in the world.
Oh no, not with. I'm sorry to get political, but not with Joe Biden in office.
No, with either party.
No, but he's not going to do so. He's not going to do so. Right now,
he won. I know.
Yeah, they love their war, and right now, my thing is that the U.S. is in a tough spot right now because if we stop funding the military that we already built up, we are automatically a failed state. Yeah. You know, it's just what it is. That's what C-19 did to America.
Guys, the reason why that's not going to happen is because it makes too much sense.
Right. I mean, in a few years, in a few short years, that debt could be reduced. It could be reduced if they cut back on the military spending. The thing is that the boogeyman story that they always tell us is that if any reduction in the military spending, then we're gonna be at the mercy of another country, which is bullshit.
That's not true. Yeah, that's not true.
No other country is actually gonna invade the United States. Definitely not a Muslim country, because the most powerful Muslim country would be what? Saudi Arabia. And are we kissing their ass all the time? I mean, Muslims are not going to invade the United States. That's a mess. You know, Denise, the Muslims that are allowed to come into the United States, that they have kind of like renounced the practices of their own countries. They're all for the American way of life. They have been heavily vetted before they are allowed here. So there is very low risk of some terrorist thing happening.
But you know what? I think, look, I don't think that only the military needs to get the scissors. I think welfare as well. We spend $1.5 trillion on welfare per year. Like if you're not old, disabled, or mentally ill, you don't need to be on welfare.
Yeah, but
Um,
you know what's going to happen, because the common narrative is that us lazy non-whites, we are leeches of the government and we need the welfare. When the fact is that there are millions of white folks that are on welfare too. If they were to cut their welfare, it will be another riot on Capitol Hill. You know that. It will be another
guys,
riot. It will be
guys,
another
okay,
riot. Guaranteed.
guys.
At the White House too.
You know
Go
what it
ahead, Jose.
is? It's easier to bribe people to vote for them. I mean, when you take a look last year with the special elections in Georgia, what did the Democrats say? Wow, if you vote Democratic, wow, we're gonna issue stimulus checks of $2,000. Okay, and whenever a politician want to get votes, what do they do? Vote for me, and I'll get you this. Vote for me, I'll get you that. I mean, because it's gotten to the point where basically bribing people to vote for them. And the fact of the matter is this: people are addicted to welfare. People are also addicted to stimulus checks. And what's even worse is that you have people on YouTube that going back and forth talking about, oh, they're going to issue more stimulus checks. They're going to make sure stimulus checks, and they're doing that just to get more subs, and they're taking advantage of the gullible people that's gun dependent on stimulus checks.
Absolutely. And that's why I believe like the welfare system needs to decompress. $1.5 trillion. That's more than the stimulus check everybody got last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Literally, that's a lot. And every year we put that out there. That's a lot of money. It's basically, Ramon, you're working for to at least provide for another family.
Yeah, to a degree, yeah, yeah. I have never gotten a welfare check in my life.
Without the benefits of, having that family when you come home.
Yeah, no, I still have to come home, clean up after myself, feed myself, do everything for myself. I don't have anybody to help me with that, because at least if I have somebody to help me when I come home to help relax and decompress and get me something to eat, that will help. That will be very motivating. It's just that I'm not.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. I don't know. That might change. That might change eventually. Not long from now.
Yeah, I think
We'll
it,
see.
I think it will change. I think it will change, but it's just it goes to show like, you know, oh my god, it's so insane like
Yeah,
how, in this society we have people that, think that welfare is the answer and that comes from who? The fact that we don't voice it out every day, but like you have people that are sucking on that tit every day, and it's not because I'm not against people that, okay, if you're having a rough time, go
yeah,
ahead, go ahead, but don't make this a career.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, to a degree, I can understand the whole thing with the welfare in Puerto Rico. To a degree, because you and I live there, and we know that sometimes there is kind of like lack of opportunities to actually being able to make an honest living, and people do need help. And in Puerto Rico, the kind of like the legislators and the politicians are making things more difficult for people to be able to survive. So I can understand in Puerto Rico happening, and I don't think it's that many people like dependent on welfare. Yeah, I don't think it's that many, because
There's a lot. Look, I went this past September, and there is a lot. And even when you talk to our people, like outside of welfare, they will
Mhm.
tell you, like, we're choking up while these people are literally building up apartments inside of the projects and breaking even the walls inside to have like a full house
Yeah.
inside. And we see them buying lobster and steak while we have like a little chicken and two onions.
Yeah, yeah. It's
Uh,
frozen chicken from
Denise,
Walmart because that's all we can afford and shit.
Denise, be
Yeah.
careful because then they're going to say that you want people to starve to death.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's another thing. I've been every time I'm paid as communist or socialist or this or that, all the ists. But one thing I would say is that we have to find common ground. Taxation, and I think taxation is a duty, but when you overtax people, you're basically breaking the contract that we have as people and you as our leader.
Hmm.
Because you're basically, we have incompetent administrators and we have had them for at least a century right now, and I would say, 2 centuries right now. So one thing I would say is that, in all honesty, giving them more money is not going to make them more competent. I don't know, like, how people think that way, like, oh, I'm going to give this president or this governor more of my money so that they can cover more expenses to make my life better. No, they're never going to do that. They're bad administrators. Like, if you were to, let's say, for example, Ramon, you're a cashier and every day
Yeah.
you're short $50, and I'm the manager. Do you think that me giving you more cash into your drawer will make you not come up short $50 every day?
No, if anything, it will get me written up.
Exactly. So I'm like, it's time to write up the government already. They're not competent. They are not competent at all.
No,
And
no.
giving them more money, they basically, when they overtax you, they're basically telling you, oh, you know what? I can use your money better than you. That's so disrespectful.
Yeah, it is.
It's
It is.
so crazy. It's so crazy. I've never seen this to these levels before. Like, it's something that's completely insane. And I like the comment that Enhanced Utility posed when he was like, buy the dip. I'm gonna make that like I'm gonna coin that Enhanced Utility. You didn't trademark it, so right now, to be honest, I'm going to take it from you. I'm going to steal it from you. I see that Jon Snow says, you're just realizing today that the government is incompetent. Oh no, I realized that at 15 years old.
Oh, no, no, no. We have been talking about that in around here and in Puerto Rico. We have been talking about that for years because we
Yeah,
have
yeah, the
worked
government. Oh,
and with the local government and the false notion that the United States is always going to be doing it better. They can make it appear like that, but there is a lot of corruption in the U.S. government too. A lot of
absolutely,
the whole
absolutely.
lobby, the whole lobby thing. It's bribery. Like, that's another word for bribery. The whole lobbying is like a nice word for the bribery that goes on anywhere else in the world. What happens in the United States with the lobbying, it will be called bribery, and somebody
Absolutely.
will be held
That is
accountable.
that is basically what I posted on my Instagram. Is that Robin Williams said when he was alive that government officials should wear like jackets like the NASCAR with all the sponsors, all the people that they get money from, so that at least we know who owns them. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
yeah,
that's so
patches,
funny.
the jackets with patches of all the pharma companies, and all the
Pfizer.
yeah, yeah, all of the pharma companies, the military contracting companies, weapons manufacturers, and so on. That owns it. The oil companies that own our politicians. They should have all like Exxon, Texaco, BP. They should have patches with all of that.
Raytheon,
Uh huh. Yeah.
Goldman Sachs.
Yes. Yes. All of those big name
Oh my god.
with a lot of money that buy up all the politicians and have them in their pockets. They should be able to have tags and patches with all the names.
Yeah,
So
at least let's just get, everybody knows this. Everybody knows that
yeah,
America is run by corporations. That's an oligarchy. We're no longer in a democracy, it's an oligarchy. So at least be honest with the people. I think that's where what scares me about the state of the nation right now. I've said it many times before on this channel and other channels. We're living in Russia 1890, to the point that the elite, the creme de la creme in our society, is hiding things that are for everyone to see thanks to social media and the internet. So everybody has access to this information. Everybody has cracked the code. Everybody knows it. But it's like we're in this stock shock state that we're so shocked that this is happening and
Yeah.
nobody's doing anything, so that a lot of people seek refuge in lies. They go to CNN, MSNBC, and all these new outlets to justify the mental gymnastics for them to take like a little caution on the fall of reality. And the reality is that this is the world we're living in, and we have to react in some ways and start being more proactive because this is happening. What you're going to do, you're going to wait till you starve to death, because at some point it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's going to happen when you have like a bunch of incompetent administrators in every state, in every aspect of public agencies, in every position in government. Then what is supposed to happen in the future?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a doozy. It's gonna be a problem. But
Yeah,
that's why we have to think about kind of like having exit strategies. Now,
yeah,
there's a certain part of the population do talk about prepping, which is something that they have been talking about for years. Having provisions, arming themselves. I mean, they're not wrong. They're not really wrong. I mean,
no,
they
no,
sound crazy, some of them, and that are overly nationalistic, and I know that us as minorities we can't really trust them, but they're not really wrong
no.
for thinking like that. I don't really blame them. It's
Yeah, of
just that
course.
somebody like myself, I wouldn't trust them. I wouldn't want them around me because I
To
don't know.
be honest with you, look, I believe that people should arm themselves because, of
Yeah,
course, poverty brings more crime. But because that's one of the things that people don't talk about during the Big Depression was the crime. One thing that I would say is that aside from that, it's time to either plan, like you said, like have an exit plan. But in my opinion, is this is the time when people are buying in excess, and people have all this. I talk about this. I think like 2 months or 3 months ago, when people were. I was, sharing minimalism as the solution,
Mhm.
which is
yeah,
owning only things that you actually use.
yeah,
So one thing I would say is like it's time now to take advantage of people overspending because they're in a state of anxiety. Things haven't gotten back to normal. They couldn't actually go and shop for things, and benefit from that because people are not going to change. The market is not going to change. Consumerism is part of the Americana. So take advantage of the consumerism and just make people buy a product that you sell or try to make profit out of it as much as you can, and hoard the money for a minute until everything falls into this nosedive that we're all seeing coming. And when that happens, buy that multifamily property so you can become a landlord. Also, buy some stock for very cheap, cents on the dollar and whatnot, so that when everything comes back to normal, you can profit from the whole thing. And you still can be afloat during the quote unquote depression that we're about to see. So it's like I said, even now, real estate, I won't advise nobody until 2023 to purchase property because property is going to drop. Is going to drop. A lot of people are not working. A lot of people are out of work. A lot of people just don't want to go back into the force. They haven't been making payments on their mortgages and whatnot. A lot of houses and apartments are going to be on the market. That's going to cause a revision of the real estate market, and that revision can even pop up the balloon um, that we're seeing right now in the real estate market. So it's very scary for owners. At the same time, if you're like in the long term of this, you should not be scared. Like if you're in this for, like I said, 10, 15 years from now, you should not be scared. But in all honesty, that's the way we are supposed to prep for this.
And excuse me, but one of the things that you discussed in an earlier stream called modernization, that there are certain jobs that are going to be replaced by robots and whatnot.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So to be honest with you, uh one thing I would say is that that's another, but you know what, Jose, I think automation will come right after, right after we are in the state, which
Hmm.
is why I also recommended to get into technology as soon as possible. And a lot of people came for me. That was so weird to me because I'm like, we're seeing this. And literally, when I ended that stream, not to, be cocky or nothing, but literally after I ended that stream, Tesla just announced that they were going to come out with the first robot that you can buy for yourself. And
Okay,
as
yeah,
if
the
that,
dog, the dog you're talking about.
no,
Yeah,
it's an actual
No,
robot, a
yeah,
Tesla robot that's gonna be able to carry things in your house and everything. And then after that, Amazon created a more simplistic robot that looks a little bit more bulky, but it's able to do like a security scan in your house and do like small chores and whatnot for $1,500.
there is a
So
yeah. What you're describing, it sounds like a movie that I saw when I was a kid. It's called Runaway. You can check it out. It's with
okay,
Tom Selleck. I don't know if you know who that is.
no.
Eh, okay.
Oh yeah, I know from Blue Bloods, right?
No, Tom Selleck from Magnum PI. I don't know if you're familiar with that series. Most likely,
I think it's the same. I think it's the same. Let me see. Yeah, it's the
okay.
same. He's in Blue Bloods. It's just that he is the
Blue
robot.
Bloods. Blue Bloods. Yeah. That is a cop series. Yeah.
hmm
There is a movie of his from the 80s that is called Runaway, and
Hmm.
it does take place in the future from that point of view, and it does have kind of like assistant robots that cook food at people's houses, and it was about kind of like about a cyber terrorist that uses little robots to and weaponizes them and uses. It's an interesting movie for its time. It was kind of ahead of its time. So it does reminded what you're describing. Those reminded me of that, and yeah. There are gonna be certain things. I know. I have seen the imagery of kind of like already robot arms that are putting fries in the fryer at the fast food places. I have seen it. I have seen it. Some of that is
Yeah,
gonna happen,
yeah. It's
and
it's
some
it's automation. It's coming, and it's coming. Literally, I said it like on the previous stream when I was talking about the slow tips retirement plan.
yeah.
Uh, in 2034, it's estimated that the median income for Latino households will be zero.
Hmm.
Um, so that's scary, and it's just because of automation. That means that what only like 3% of our people will be employed according to our skills. That's
hmm
nothing. That's nothing. 3% is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, but
So
yes,
go
but
ahead.
Denise, the problem is that the mentally and intellectually challenged, the mix, they're not concerned about that. They're concerned about who's dating what, and that
Uh,
the Spanish Empire be resurrected again, and Mr. BBC, and making the DR white again.
no, actually, I'm not. Obviously, I'm not a YouTuber like you guys, but I do have an idea for kind of like a video about the Spanish Empire, some info that I came across. But it's just that I need help. I would like to put my own video. I would like to do something myself, but I don't know how to do it. So that's something that I have to really get into learning about.
Mhm.
And what I do doesn't give me that much time. But yeah, the that whole thing about the Spanish Empire, that's not gonna happen. We have talked about it before. We don't have to go into that anymore. But I would like to kind of like do a story on that. It's just that since I'm not a YouTuber, that I have to learn how to do it. I have to
Yeah,
learn how to
just
put it together.
stay in contact. You can even do it through StreamYard, Ramon, and just record it
Hmm.
and post it. But we'll talk some more about it backstage, guys. Let's start wrapping this up. Before we wrap this up, I want to remind everybody, if you don't follow me on Instagram, it's time to do so. My Instagram is denise.gonzalez.villegas1, so that you can keep up with everything that's happening in Latin America and also in our Latin diaspora here in the United States, because sometimes I am busy. I do have a life and I don't have time to necessarily make a video on it. So, without any further ado, guys, let's go back to final thoughts. So, first of all, Jose, final thoughts.
Well, first of all, thank you for allowing me to be on your platform. I just want to let everybody know that my next stream will be this Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And the topic will be millennials and baby boomers. What do we have in common? It's going to be an interesting topic. Of course, Denise, I'm going to ask you to co-host it with me.
Yeah.
Um, but as far as this topic, you know, people have gotten dependent on stimulus checks, but they don't realize that we are the ones are paying for it. And basically, what when we get a stimulus check, basically we're getting like a tax credit that we're paying for. Okay, and we need to get on the stimulus check diet, so to speak, and try to find ways that we can expand our income without having to depend on the government. Because, as we know, the government doesn't always do things properly. I work in municipal government, so I can testify for that. Um,
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not gonna mention an agency I'm gonna work for that I work for because let's say we can discuss it backstage. But of course I'm going to close the same way I always close. People, please be careful out there because we are still dealing with C-19, which has killed almost 750,000 people in this country. And we must do everything possible to reduce our contact with the mentally and intellectually challenged, known as the bigs, or else we will be infected by their stupidity and then our brain cells will begin to die.
Exactly. In other words, Jose said.
Exactly.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, thank you, Jose. I'm going to put you backstage. Ramon, final thoughts.
Yeah. Chica, I appreciate you letting me on. It is something that we have to think about when it comes to what is in the near future, and we need to make an effort into not letting the typical media, the mainstream media, distract us from what is happening to us here in this country that we're calling home. And don't let's not be distracted by what is happening elsewhere, because a lot of these issues that are affecting us now, we are going to have to handle them. We are going to have to face them. We're going to have to take action upon them. And again, let's develop alternate strategies, alternate plans, um, so we can look after ourselves and the people that we care about. And it's gonna be a little bit of a doozy, and we're trying to hold on as much as we can here. Like you mentioned something about eventually going back to Puerto Rico. That's gonna be soon.
Yeah.
And not, for me, I'm not going to Puerto Rico yet. Not moving back yet, not yet. But eventually, it's something that I would like to do. But it's gonna take some time. I can't do it right now because I have responsibilities to meet out here. Uh, but if it happens eventually, then fine, great. but we have to plan for it. We have to.
Absolutely. We're living right now the En Mi Viejo San Juan song.
No, I mean, yes,
Me
yes,
voy, ya
yes.
me voy,
No,
pero
that's
un
my
día
anthem.
volveré.
That's our anthem. That's the anthem
Yeah,
of the exile, and Mi Viejo San Juan, because that's the song that I can really identify with. La Borinqueña,
absolutely.
La Borinqueña is our official anthem, but I don't like the line where it kind of glorifies Columbus a little bit. I don't like
Yeah,
it. I mean, you have seen it. That's why it's Mi Viejo San Juan is more dear to my heart because it's basically describing me, it
yeah,
describing you, describing us that live outside of the island.
yeah.
So yeah, I'm very fond of it for that obvious reason. But yeah, eventually I would like to go back. I would like to go back to our homeland. But right now, here in the United States, is home now. This is where we work. This is where we're making a living. So I'm not
Yeah,
gonna trash it.
of
But
course.
yeah. So again, Denise, thanks for having me on, and I look forward to the next one. So
No problem. Thank you, Ramon. I'm going to put you backstage. Guys, that has been all for today. Like I said, this was going to be a very short and sweet video. I know I'm out of my current and usual schedule, but I'm going to try to do it more on off days. And I will be releasing in this upcoming week the official new schedule for Latin Splaining. I'm still trying to work some things behind the scenes, but work happens. So, guys, before I leave, I want to leave in a very good note, and I want to remind everybody that there is something special aside from Halloween happening today and Dia de los Muertos for tomorrow. In case you guys forgot, tomorrow is the Mexican Dia de los Muertos. So, if you are Mexican or not, make sure you have your altar ready so that you can actually put your marigolds, your pictures, and your ofrenda so that your family members can come visit you from the land of the dead. But also, aside from those, I want to remind everybody that it's 25 days until Thanksgiving, 28 days until Hanukkah, 55 days until Christmas, and 62 days until 2022. And the colonized Alexis says, can't wait until the happy new year. So definitely, guys, I hope everybody has enjoyed the show. I'm very happy that you guys tune in on a Sunday, on a day that I'm usually not on. Thank you for allowing me in your homes and your devices and allowing me to entertain you and also inform you everything about finances and business. Now, guys, that has been another episode. I'll see you guys on the next one. Thank you very much. My name was Denise Gonzalez with Latin Splaining. Have a nice one, guys. See ya.